Welcome to 1314, Section 2.1. We're working with graphing equations. I'm David Dipple from Lone Star College, Montgomery. Okay, first we need to make sure you know about the coordinate graphing system. Quadrant 1 is in the upper right-hand corner. Then we go counterclockwise, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Now, and make sure you know how to graph a few points. If you start with the point 2, 3, the first number is right and left. The second number is right or up and down. So we go right 2, up 3. So A is going to be up here in the first quadrant. B is left 3, down 1. C is left 2, up 3. Again, the first number is left, right, and the second number is up and down. So left 2, up 3 is up in the second quadrant, and D, right 1, down 2 is in the fourth quadrant. Okay, suppose you want to sketch a graph of y equals 2x squared minus 3. The first thing I usually do is make a table of values, and I'm going to start with like x equals negative 2 and end with positive 2. You can put more or less values. The more values you put, the better your table is. The less values, the less likely the graph is to be correct. I suggest you put positive and negative values so you can see the whole graph. If you take negative 2 and you plug it in, that's 4 times 2 is 8, minus 3 makes 5. Plug in 1. 2 times 1 is 2, minus 3 is negative 1. Plug in 0. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Plug in 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus 3 is negative 1. And plug in 2. Squared is 4. Times 2 is 8. Minus 3 makes 5. So we get 5, negative 1, negative 3, negative 1, and 5. That came from plugging in. Then we just plot those points on a graph. Negative 2, 5, negative 1, 0, negative 3. And then when you connect those, you get a parabola, which is U-shaped. So at this point, all we're doing is graphing points. The distance formula. This comes if you have 2 points. Recall point A, x1, y1, and point B, x2, y2. If you make a triangle out of it, then we can use the Pythagorean theorem. So the vertical distance is y2 minus y1, and the horizontal distance is x2 minus x1. The order does not make any difference. You can make it 1 minus 2 and 1 minus 2. Okay. Pythagorean theorem says d squared, which is the hypotenuse, is equal to the x coordinates plus the y coordinates, both of which are squared. And so you get the square root of x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. Now I have dropped the subscripts, again, because when you subtract and then square something, it becomes positive, so the order doesn't make any difference. If it was negative, it becomes positive. If it was positive, it stays positive. So order in this case doesn't make any difference, but if you want, you can leave the subscripts down there. Okay, suppose we have 2 points. You want to find the distance. I always write the distance formula down. X minus x squared plus y minus y squared under a square root. Then I subtract the x numbers. I'm going to take the 1 and subtract negative 2. So it's 1 plus 2. 4 and subtract 3. So it's 1 plus 2, 4 minus 3. Again, that's the first number 1 minus the second number, negative 2. So that's 1 minus negative, which means plus. Then 4 minus 3. Okay, this is 3 squared, which makes 9. This is 1 squared, which makes 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. So we have the square root of 10. Okay, they may ask you to take and find out if 3 points are collinear. To find out if points are collinear, you need to find A to B, A to C, and B to C. So we need to compare all the points, 2 of them, and see, do they add up? Is AB and BC equal to AC? Do they make a straight line? So if you find A to B, that's negative 1, minus 1, 4, minus 1, which comes out to be square root of 13. A to C is negative 1 minus 3, 4 minus negative 2, or square root of 52. because this is 4 squared is 16, that's 4 and 2 is 6 squared is 36, which makes 52. B to C, 1 minus 3, 1 minus negative 2 is plus 2. Square that one, I believe you get 13 again. Now, do they add up? Is AB, which is this first one, BC, which is this one, equal to that one? Well, the square root of 13, the square root of 13, the square root of 52. Now, 52 is 4 times 13, which, if you simplify, is 2 square roots of 13. It is. If you want to type it in the calculator, square root of 13 plus the square root of 13 equals the square root of 52, which it does. Okay, the midpoint formula. If you have 2 points, you want to find the middle, you average the 2 points. That means you add the x numbers, divide by 2. Add the y numbers, divide by 2. So add the x's, divide by 2. Add the y's, divide by 2. And again, since we're adding, the order does not make any difference. So as you want to find the midpoint between negative 2, 3, and 1, 4, you just add the x values, negative 2 plus 1, divide by 2, 3 plus 4, divide by 2, and you get negative 1/2 and positive 7/2. So that concludes the first section. Now circles, section 2, there's a formula, x minus h squared, y minus k squared is equal to r squared. The second number, the h and the k, not the minus in between them, but just whatever you see after the x, take the opposite. This is minus, so that's positive. This is minus, so that's positive. And then the radius is the square root of this number over here on the right side. Okay, suppose you have x plus 3 squared, y minus 1 squared equals 25. The opposite of 3 is negative 3. The opposite of 1 is positive 1, and square root 25. So you get negative 3, positive 1, and 5. Now, suppose we give you a center of 2, negative 4, and the diameter of 6. We just go backwards. It's going to be x minus 2 plus squared plus y minus negative 4, which makes plus 4 squared, is equal to, now the diameter is 6, so half of that makes 3. The radius is 3, and if you look at the original formula, this is r squared. 3 squared makes 9. Okay, now if we have an equation, ax squared plus bx plus c, y squared plus dy plus e equals 0, we're going to have to complete the square to make it into graphing form. So you can find the center and radius. Okay, so we take our x squared and our 4x, and we separate that out, and we complete the square. So put close parentheses, leave some space, put the y's together, leave some space, and move the 10 over. Okay, when you complete the square, you take half of the first number, 4, which is 2, square it. Put it right in this blank right here. Okay, now make sure you put it in this side also. And then half of 6 is 3, squared is 9, and we got to put those on that side, so 4 and 9. Then when you factor this, square root x, take half of the middle is 2, square root y, take half of the middle, combine these makes 3. So there you have it. If you want to find the center and the radius, you can. Center, negative 2, positive 3, square root of 3. Okay, suppose you have 4x squared plus 8x plus 4y squared plus 16y minus 5. You must have a 1 to start with, so divide everything by 4. Or you can just factor it out, and we'll divide later. Okay, so you have x squared plus 2x, complete the square, y squared plus 4y, complete the square. Half of 2 is 1, half of 4 is 2, squared is 4. When we move the 5, it becomes positive 5. We plussed 4 times 1, which is 4. 4 times 4 is 16, so you got to put all that over here. Then you factor 4 times x plus 1 squared, 4 times y plus 2 squared equals 25. It's not quite in circle notation. You have to divide by 4 to get those out. And when you do, you get x plus 1 squared, y plus 2 squared equals 25 fourths. Take this center is negative 1. Opposite is negative 2. Square root this is 5 halves. So that completes the section 2.